Yo, in the last video I talked about the stages of an attack, and today I want to talk about how to actually create speed. So in order to create speed, you need to be able, or you need to understand the concept of spacing and timing. I'll explain that using this animation here. Let's play it a couple times. Okay, now I played it a couple times. And spacing basically is like if we look at this frame and the onion skin of the previous frame, you see there's not much difference here. And for example, later in the animation, there's much higher difference. And that is what spacing refers to. Choosing the amount of progression in your movement from the previous to the current frame. That is what spacing means. And what that does is it decides how much information the movement is giving to the viewer. It just means if you have very short amount of progression, that gives more information to the viewer. And if you have high amount of progression, there's a lot of movement skipped. If you combine that with timing is how long you play an image, that creates the speed. And you combine low amount of difference with long amount of playing the frames and high amount of difference. Like here's high amount, like here the progression is really high, and I only play this frame for one single frame, and that makes it appear really fast. I hope that you could understand it a bit. So if we play the animation, you will notice these few starting frames look much more smoother than when he's running. Let's play that part. I hope you noticed it, because I did. Okay, so I hope you understood that timing refers to how much you space out the frames in your timeline, and spacing refers to how much time you skip in the movement in your space line. So now that you know how to create speed, let's talk about how much speed each movement needs. As you can see from my build up here, there's low amount of difference and long lasting frames, and the frames start to last lesser and lesser. My impact lasts for 3 frames. This is because I want the impact to stick out, like look more powerful. When I don't need it to look powerful, it doesn't last so long. For example, this one only lasts for 1 frame, this one. And that is to make it look like a swipe. Like you don't see the impact that long. And this kick is also on trees. So the impact depends on how impactful you want it to look like. The more power it has, the longer you play it. Sometimes you can even use like 5 frames for the impact. In order to choose your timing, you look into which stage of the attack you are in right now. So when I'm at the starting pose, like the very first frame where the Stickman is just standing, if you're at the standing or the idle pose into the build-up, I use the longest amount of frames, like trees. Trees means an image lasts for 3 frames. So I use trees and then later use 2s. If I'm at the last frame before the impact, I forgot to talk about that earlier. So mostly when I'm at the very last frame before the impact, I'm using 1s. Here I do it as well. Like the attacker is in a single frame right before the hit. Here as well. So my idea is he builds up, and right before the hit, he's at the highest speed he can be. That's my understanding of the last frame before the hit. The impact itself, as I said, it depends. Balancing, like after the impact, I mostly go back to twos. The walk cycles on trees and the run cycles I combine ones and twos. I have some future guides in mind, but I'm not really sure in what order yet. So if you have an idea or a specific aspect you want me to cover, please feel free to leave a comment. And other than that, see you in the next video.